Welcome to our YouTube channel, where wisdom meets inspiration. In this channel, we share valuable insights to help you become the best version of yourself. Our content is designed to uplift your spirit and enrich your life. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to stay connected with this incredible journey. Click the subscribe button below.
That consciousness is not brain. It has sort of been taken for granted until now. Now the perceived wisdom it's still challenged. It's not changed yet, but it's challenged. It's taken for granted that our brain is producing consciousness. Brain and nervous system, we would say how? We don't know, but it is producing consciousness. This is under challenge. And one powerful challenge comes from the philosophy of mind, from David Chalmers, who is an Australian philosopher, who is associated with, if you Google, hard problem of consciousness, his name will come up. He is the professor of brain science, philosophy of mind, and consciousness studies in New York University now. He coined this term, the hard problem of consciousness. What is the hard problem of consciousness? It goes like this. Notice when you say the brain produces consciousness, what we are saying is this living organ in this skull, which is a physical thing, which doctors can examine, which you can scan, which is an object. Just like this table is an object, the brain is also an infinitely more complex and mysterious and sophisticated object, a living organ, but still it's an object, just like any other object in this universe. And yet, we are claiming this object generates what we are experiencing right now. All of us, we are seeing, we are hearing, we are smelling, tasting, touching. Now this glorious, you see the colors, you hear the sounds, this first person experience. Our life is this. Our life is the red color of a rose. It is the taste of lemonade. It is the cold you feel on your skin in winter in Finland. All of these diverse conscious experiences, first person experiences, this is what we call life. How is an object generating this? At the very least, the question should be asked. David Chalmers makes it more clear. He says, when you say something is producing something, you can examine every step of the way. Suppose a car factory. You go to a car factory and you see materials coming in, parts coming from different places, and they're being assembled, and at the end, a car comes out. And you can see at every step what's happening, how they're getting assembled, every step until the final product is produced. You can see it all. Whereas, when we observe the brain, and especially nowadays we can observe it very minutely, what we observe is a living organ. You observe more closely, you can find masses of tiny electrical activity, in neuronal activity. That's the last thing that can be observed. How from those masses of tiny electrical activity, how do you get color? How do you get sound? How do you get music? How do you get art? How do you get pain and pleasure? Thousands of different, millions of different subjective experiences. How do you get from bursts of electricity? You are seeing a variety of colors here. Now, corresponding to that, scientists can show that some kind of electrical activity is going on in your brain. But the connection between that electrical activity and this experience which we are having now, what's the connection? Why is this? This is called the explanatory gap. The explanatory gap. And there are multiple responses to this. Many theories of consciousness studies are, what is consciousness? They're floating around. Robert Lawrence Kuhn, some of you may have seen on YouTube this wonderful series called Closer to Truth. Closer to Truth. So this gentleman has been interviewing scientists, philosophers, theologians for many years now on the big questions of life, including consciousness. And he has recently written an article called The Landscape of Consciousness. It's publicly available. You can look it up. It's encyclopedic, where he has put in all these theories of consciousness which are floating around now, and he has classified it into 10 categories. 10 categories of theories of consciousness. Not 10 theories of consciousness, 10 categories of theories of consciousness. So much diverse thinking is there on consciousness. The same question, how a physical thing like the brain, like this, a physical thing, like this, how can it produce conscious experience which we are all having now? To this, I will add nowadays this presence of AI. To me, it is another argument to show that consciousness is not produced from a physical entity. Why? The artificial intelligence which we have now, ChatGPT, whatever, OpenAI, and whatever we're going to have in the future, notice it does remarkable things. Many things it does, including creativity. In New York, there is a big museum of modern art, MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, where I saw this big screen, something like this, and it is generating art, but it's an artificial intelligence. The entire museum's contents have been poured into that computer, and now it's being asked to generate art like this, and it's continuously generating art. An artist will say quote-unquote art. Whether it's really art or not, we don't know. But it's hypnotic. If you go there, the effect is undeniable. If you stand in front of it, you will be entranced, at least for a few minutes. So there's artificial intelligence is creative. It is intelligent. It drives cars. In the United States, if you go, there are self-driven Google cars without any driver. All of this it can do, but one thing it cannot do, which everybody knows. It's not conscious. You might say, how do you know that? Well, ask the experts. There are experts here. They will tell you, no, it's not designed for consciousness. In fact, not only are artificial intelligences not designed for consciousness, here's the crux. They're not designed for consciousness. The experts will tell you, we have no idea how to make these machines, these programs conscious. We have an idea how to make them intelligent. We have an idea how to make them behave creatively. We can endow them with mind, with memory and creativity and intelligence, with senses enough to drive a car. But we can't make them conscious. Which actually reinforces this, that maybe consciousness is not being produced by the brain. A question might be asked here, that how would you respond to this? There's a strong correlation between brain activity and our conscious experience. That's why people think, scientists think that brain is producing consciousness. How would you respond to that? There's a question, I'll deal with it later on, but I'll keep it there. How would you respond to the strong correlation between brain activity and our conscious experience? The ancient Vedantins, the sages in India, they did not talk in terms of brain. They just said, consciousness is not the body. Consciousness is not the body. It's not a part of the body, like my kidney or my liver is part of the body. Brain is part of the body, but consciousness is not a part of the body. It's not even being produced by the body. It's not a process in the body, like many other biological processes. Why not? They gave certain arguments. And these arguments are pretty easy to grasp and we can apply them. See, one thing about this whole discussion, why is it interesting? It's interesting because it gets to the core of what we are right now. We are all conscious beings. In fact, our whole life is lived in consciousness. So we are talking about that, the essence of what we are. The arguments that the ancient masters in India gave is something like this. Notice that the body is something that is an object. This is an object. It's pretty much like what David Chalmers argues. The body is an object. The physical body is also an object. In the sense, you can see it, you can touch it, you can smell it, you can taste it. If you're hungry and your stomach is rumbling, you can hear it. The body is an object to all my senses. And so what? The object and the subject are different. In the language of the ancient masters, the seer and the seen are different. The seer means the experiencer. Notice, for example, the example of the eyes. The eyes can see everything which is at a distance from the eyes. The only thing that they cannot see are the eyes themselves. You might say, haven't you looked at a mirror? But in a mirror, you can see a reflection of your eyes. If you take a selfie, you can see a picture of your eyes. But the way my eyes are seeing you, they cannot see themselves directly. The seer and the seen, the subject and the object, they have to be distinct entities. This is a principle in philosophy. It says that a thing cannot operate upon itself. Self-reflexivity is not allowed in philosophy. So it's regarded as a logical fault. So, I am a conscious being, and to me this table is an object. I am not it. Similarly, the body is an object, and therefore I, the conscious being, am not the body. I must be something distinct from the body. The subject must be something distinct. The body is still there, and I still feel embodied, but I am not literally bones or flesh or organs in that sense. Distinction between consciousness and the body. Another powerful, I think, to my mind, I like this argument. It's a subtle argument. It's a variation on the first argument. Seer and seen, subject and object. I am aware. I am conscious. Nobody doubts that. And I am conscious of the body. The body is not conscious of me. It's a strange way of thinking. This hand is not conscious of this hand. But I am conscious of both. This hand does not say to this, hello, we meet again. No. It is not aware of itself. It is not aware of this or anything else. But I am aware of this hand, and I am aware of this hand, and I am aware of myself. So, I am conscious, I am an aware entity, and the body is not an aware entity. It's not aware of itself, it's not aware of anything else, it's not aware of me. But I am aware of it, and I'm aware of everything else, I'm aware of myself. So this argument, it's a subtle argument. I hope you see the flavor of this argument. That this awareness and the not aware, in Sanskrit, chit jada, sentient, insentient, they cannot be the same thing. There's a tremendous difference between the two. A couple of more arguments, then we'll move ahead. One argument at least. So a philosopher in New York put this argument to me. Said, yeah, but you know, it is that the brain is producing consciousness. It is true that we cannot demonstrate exactly how the electrical impulses in the brain are producing consciousness. However, give us time. We will be able to demonstrate in 40 or 50 years. This is called promissory materialism. I promise to demonstrate how it's a school of it's actually a serious contention. And then he actually gave me this argument. He said that, look, at one time, 100 years back, people thought life is a mystery. And now we are able to explain life down to the molecular level. It's a good enough explanation. So in time, in 40, 50 years, we'll be able to explain consciousness to your satisfaction. But we need 40, 50 years. I gave him the this consciousness, not consciousness, sentient, insentient argument. I said, you cannot, in principle. Life is explained in terms of molecular processes in organic matter. That is understandable. In principle, it's fine. Philosophically speaking, a complex, objective phenomenon has now been explained at a fundamental, objective level. Complex phenomena explained in terms of fundamental phenomena. That's what's called explanation. But now what you are saying is, your entire subjective life will be given an objective explanation. You will explain consciousness in terms of non-consciousness. It's what's called in philosophy a category jump. He was not impressed by that argument. Anyway, I'll just say one more thing and move on to the second step. 25 years ago, something interesting happened. One of the leading neuroscientists, Christoph Koch, he was the chief scientist of the Paul Allen Brain Institute, and he had a materialistic view of what consciousness is, although he has changed his view somewhat in the last several years. He and David Chalmers, who came up with the phrase hard problem of consciousness, they had a debate and a bet, a challenge. Christoph Koch said to David Chalmers that the way neuroscience is advancing, the way brain science is advancing, within 25 years we'll be able to explain consciousness in terms of brain processes. Within 25 years. And David Chalmers used this argument that you cannot explain something that is this pure subject in terms of objective processes. You will not be able to do that. So let's have a bet. They bet. I think a case of champagne or something like that, they bet. And then they forgot about it. Just last year, somebody pointed out to Christoph Koch and David Chalmers, 25 years have passed. This was in 1999. So last year, 25 years have passed. What happened to the bet? And they had a meeting again in NYU, and there Christoph Koch admitted that, I must say, we have made no progress, no significant progress, no theoretical progress, no progress in principle in trying to explain how the brain produces consciousness. Neuroscience has advanced a lot in the last 25 years. But theoretically speaking, there is no advance whatsoever in terms of explaining consciousness. Many theories are there. And that's somebody told me, this field of consciousness studies is an immature field. Why? Because none of the terms are clearly defined. When you have a wide variety of theories, that shows the field is still immature. When you have 10 categories of theories trying to explain the same phenomena, same entity consciousness, it shows that the modern field of consciousness studies is still getting off the ground, All right. So that's step one. Consciousness is not the brain. Not proved, but I'm saying Advaita Vedanta says that. That's what it holds. These are the arguments. And now we are actually at an interesting place. That see the opposite of what could have been. It could have been that consciousness was well explained in terms of brain processes. It could have been. I don't know how, but suppose it had been. Then we would not be having this talk. We would not be interested. See, for example, I was just thinking while coming here, we are coming together to explore an ancient Indian philosophy of consciousness. Nobody is interested in ancient Indian philosophy of kidney. Nobody is interested in. We think though I think ancient medicine systems have a lot to offer, but anyway, we have advanced so much in our science, biological and physics and so on. We are not interested except as history in those ideas, ancient ideas. But as far as consciousness is concerned, we are seriously interested. This talk I have given talks to scientists and philosophers in India and in the United States and other places. Why are they interested? It's because it's not clear yet what consciousness is. So we need to consider these different options.
Become Swami Vivekananda's messenger. Share the video with 3 of your friends.